Today we're going to be learning how to draw with shapes. We're going to be using simple shapes to create a more complex drawing. When we are drawing, we need to observe carefully what we see. There are many different tricks that artists use in order to make their drawings look more accurate, like what they're really looking at. And one is breaking things down into basic shapes. When I say basic shapes, I really mean circle, triangle, square, and its cousins, rectangle, oval, and diamond. From these very simple shapes, which can be modified and kind of squeezed and changed a little bit, we can also look at more complex shapes. As you gain skill, you will move beyond basic shapes and be able to see more complex shapes. So instead of a square, you will see a parallelogram. You might be able to see a pentagon or something that's sort of like a squished type of triangle, like a scalene triangle. Once you can see the shapes and you can draw them pretty simply, you can construct a drawing from those shapes. We use the term construction, which just means building. Construction is the practice of breaking down complex shapes into basic shapes. The artist then pieces these basic shapes together to form more complex shape of the object they wish to draw. In this example, we've broken this pepper shaker down into basically ovals and rectangles and one trapezoid. You can build drawings with simple shapes to create simple cartoons like this one here that's basically ovals and rectangles. And you can also improve your skills and make much more complex figures and drawings using the same strategy. The human hand, which is one of the hardest forms I think to draw, is basically made up of rectangles and ovals in this image. How do I know what shapes to draw? This is a really great question. Really, you're just looking for basic shapes. There's not a right or a wrong way to do this. I might see an oval, you might see a circle. As long as we're looking to roughly fit the area of what we're drawing, we're doing it right. We are identifying the basic shapes that comprise our subject, and you can see different shapes and that's okay. Break it down in any way that makes sense to you. We are going to revisit the term underdrawing as we do this. We are going to be sketching our shapes lightly with our pencil until we have the foundation for our image. Then we're going to be drawing on top of it, and so no one will ever see our underdrawing. First, I'm going to show you how to bring an image into Canvas and break it into basic shapes, really to just show you how you can take any image and break it into basic shapes. I'm going to get onto Google Images and I'm going to find a picture of a kitten, one of the more popular animals, and I'm going to bring it into Canvas by saving that picture to my Google Drive, and then I'm going to import it into Canvas by going New Image from Image. When I click New from Image, it's going to ask me what image do I want to use, and I'm going to go to my Downloads folder and bring this image in. I'm going to choose a color that is really different than whatever my photograph is. In this case, I think orange will really pop against these colors, and I'm going to trace it. This is just to show you what the shapes can look like. First, I see the kitten's head as being basically a big circle. Excuse the roughness of my circle, I'm drawing with my mouse. I also see its body overall as being kind of an egg shape, an oval shape. So I'm going to draw those shapes in first. Its little back paws, when I stand back, they look like triangles to me. His front paws also look like triangles to me. So I'm going to be filling those in. The ears also look like triangles to me, and so does the nose. There are a lot of triangles in this piece. And although the eyes have little points on either side, overall, to me, they look like circles. So I'm going to draw them as circles. I also think that the line where its arms come together, I think that V shape could be really useful to map my drawing later, so I'm going to put it in. It's basically a two sides of a triangle. When I turn my layers off, I can see my basic shapes. Those are what I'm going to be copying onto paper. In my sketchbook, I'm going to be looking and observing those shapes from my screen. I'm going to transfer those shapes exactly the way that I see them. I see that big round head, I see the oval body, which is slightly bigger than, slightly taller than the circle, and I'm using my eyes to observe the shapes. I definitely see those little paws as being rectangles sticking off the side of the oval, and there's a larger set of rectangles for the back feet, which I'm going to draw in now. Next, I'm going to pop up and plug in those basic facial features where I think they go. The nose, the eyes are about in the center of the head, and the nose is halfway in between those and where I think the chin is. I'm going to lay in the ears and also the marking on the top of the head, which I think is going to be an important landmark to my drawing. It's also a triangle. Next, I'm going to put in that V, which is, two parts of a triangle, just in between the legs there, because that's going to be a good landmark for where I think that the arms and the body are going to meet. I noticed that I put the line a little bit off, so I'm going to fix it. When I compare my drawing to my drawing on the computer, I can see that my shapes look pretty close. So I'm happy with it, and I'm going to move on to adding more details. That includes now going in and adjusting my shapes. So the cat's ears aren't perfect triangles, they're rounded, and its paws don't have sharp angles on each side, they're rounded. The oval is actually, to me, as I go back in, looks like lines where its little shoulders and elbows might be. So I'm thinking about where the joints are, and where I see hard lines in my underdrawing and soft lines in the cat, I'm going back in and softening those lines. Now that I am happier with the way the cat's body looks, and I feel like the arms and legs are the right size, I have softened some of those hard lines. I'm going to go in and add some details. When I'm adding details, I don't work all in one area at once. I tend to put a little detail here, a little bit there, and the entire image gets detailed at the same time. I'll work the ears and then the paws, and then I'll go back up to the face. And each time I'm standing back from my image to say, what's working here, what's not working here. So I'm not working on one tiny little bit at a time. I continue to work around the image, adding more details, erasing areas that I think don't look exactly the way I want them to. And at this point, because I'm dealing with a furry animal, I'm actually erasing some of those straight lines and curved lines, and I'm putting in kind of a choppy textured line to mimic the direction of the fur. One thing that I do when I'm drawing furry creatures is I think about the direction of the way the fur grows to give a more realistic look. So this is one way you can break a complex shape down into more simple shapes, with the idea that you can accurately draw what you see on paper using those shapes. And once you've got your shapes right, you can then go in and add other details that make it look more realistic. Now it's your turn to draw an animal, starting with just basic shapes.